hours for going out there. But yeah, we're starting to see these much bigger numbers, $1 billion a day. And I think that's going to continue, right? There's a lot of money in motion at the beginning of the year. That's why you're starting to see it pick up. You're seeing people who invested previously at 1% go to 5%. As you mentioned, Scott, we did a survey. We're going to publish it, I think, next week, of financial advisor attitudes towards crypto. 99% of the people who had crypto last year plan to increase or maintain their exposure in 2025. I mean, these are unheard of numbers, right? So you're going to have the people who invested last year investing more, and then a new cohort of people investing for the first time. I think we're going to blow 2024's flows out of the water, and it's be a persistent bid behind.
I think 100. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to say 100 this year. If we did 35 last year, it should be 100, even just by other like wirehouses and such coming online. I want to also, Matt, highlight one thing that they said in this Bernstein, because it echoes something you and I have both said quite a bit. Finally, Ethereum is poised to become the next institutional darling in 2025, despite underperformance last year, driven by traditional investors seeking intrinsic value. I definitely feel like
he has no recourse on that debt. It's an infinite money supply. As long as people continue to want a leveraged play on Bitcoin, which is a necessary component to the structure that we're building, right? It provides diversification. It provides hedging strategies. It provides a lot of usefulness as a tool to the largest players. As long as that continues to work, the competitive delta is going to grow. And what I mean by that is like, if you start a real estate company, 2 today, and you add Bitcoin as a component to one and you don't to the other, which one do you think is going to be more successful? And so as that continues, that self-fulfilling prophecy continues, because they understand the base economics of what they're doing, it's going to cause a rush, in my opinion, that we are not pricing in. And the rush may be from corporate, maybe from nation states, but nonetheless, they're going to come because the competitive advantage of having it versus not having it is too great to ignore.
Don't we also get the aspect here, Matt, of like the Long Island blockchain iced tea? That's where all the invest.
The last number I heard is about 2% of daily volume. It is accounted for by automatic buys, like 401k buys. So the rising tide of having a 2% guaranteed buy on every day's volume, that's massive. Imagine that number being triple because the opportunity is that much greater, or 10x. But I think Michael Saylor, I don't want to misquote him, but I think he said, I believe that Bitcoin eventually will be S&P plus 12 or maybe 18%. Where are we now? If that's where we end up 50 years, 100 years from now, when the economy of digital assets is fully baked, doubling in a year doesn't sound too bad. I mean, that sounds really, really conservative if you follow that math. So yeah, I think Matt's right. I think the development of products is the most important thing in the industry right now, because it allows the biggest players to have their toolbox that they need to fix the whole car. They don't just need a wrench.
Yeah, and Matt, since we only have you for a couple more minutes, we also
went on to commercialize Bitcoin with corporations and governments decades after he passed.
All right. Let's remember what happened to Prometheus. Let's hope that doesn't happen to you. Michael.
Okay, so the shot that he takes at the end there, I've been on that show making money. He's hilarious. But
yeah,
die and take it with you. Like, I guess Bitcoin's not scarce enough.
Yeah, it's. I guess he doesn't have any kids. Clearly,
no, he does not. He does not have children. He's said many times he doesn't really have anyone to pass on to. To be clear, he's not talking about MicroStrategy's Bitcoin. People freaked out. It's like, how can I buy MicroStrategy if all the Bitcoin? Yeah. We talk about whatever stack he has, and I guess he didn't specifically say he would do that. He just very strongly said it was a great idea. He has alluded to it. I feel like that money could do a lot of good beyond just like distributing the $20 bump everybody who owns Bitcoin will get if it happened.
I agree, but I'll also tell you I appreciate genius. It works both ways. You just have to kind of pick your bias, if you will. So if the price starts dropping, there's nothing that keeps the automation from taking advantage of those same opportunities on the drop. It's bi-directional. It doesn't care, right? It's more about the time frames that you want to work within, right? So there's products that you can use on a daily basis and you're out every single before the closing bell every single day. Well, that carries really no overnight risk, right? You're sitting in cash every day versus there are swing strategies where those swing strategies carry positions over longer periods of time. If you're in a market that's exceptionally volatile, then you hedge towards the daily. If you're in a market that's not exceptionally volatile, then you can hedge more towards the hold strategies. So there's an infinite number of options. Again, this is a massive toolbox. And once you start knowing how to use the tools, it becomes
Whether or not, Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana go through another cycle that's a 50% dip may or may not happen, but I don't think I want to live through that again, right? I want to put myself in a position where if we're 10 to 15% dip, I'm lightening the load a little bit. I may have other instances inside of that algorithm that are still buying long term over periods of time, but I also have an instance inside of my crypto algorithm that's selling at different times. And so there's risk on both ends, right? There's risk on both ends, and you're able to make decisions, and then that decision is automated. You're not having to sit at your computer all day and sweat it out and figure out, am I selling at the top? Am I selling at the middle? Am I being dumb and following all the way down? What am I doing, right? You're able to make decisions at a certain time and then allow those decisions to flatten out over a period of time, and then you can go on vacation. You can go where you want to go. You're not obsessing about it. Is the point?
well, and you're having an extensive exposure. You can literally
In taking the cash flow that happens on a monthly basis associated with our futures-based products, and taking that capital and putting it onto the crypto side, and having rules and instances generate returns and stack Bitcoin, stack Ethereum, stack Solana on that side with returns that they're getting from the other side. It's a really unique flywheel.
Well, it is very unique, and I would add that Bitcoin specifically, we said this at the beginning of the show, and I'll echo it again. It's a competitive delta that can't be ignored. And when you are looking at an algorithm that's allowing you to manage 50 different instances plus as it relates to Bitcoin's price movement, there's just not, we haven't seen anything that has the potency to make material change as to really get your arms around how to use instances and how to play with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's the magic, right? In my estimation, you can play on the future side, you can play on all the sides.